Hey everybody, Reefgrrl here, and welcome to Reefgrrl Live. I am so happy you could make it. The whole idea here is to have some fun, chat, get some questions answered, maybe show off what you're doing, and get to know each other a little bit better. So sit back, relax, grab a drink. The stream is about to begin. Hey everybody, Reefgrrl here. How's it going tonight? I did send out some emails to people inviting them to join based on emails I received from them. So I don't have anyone here yet, but that's fine. We will just wait and see who shows up. So we have Skookumchuck Reefer was the first person in tonight. Then 420 Reefer, hey, how's it going? We've got Yavi Gwaltney. Ari did that. Hey, Ari. Hey, Yavi. And Jonas Downravicius. Hey, Jonas. Nice to see you again tonight. Gaves Reef Tampa. Carlos 23. Nice of you guys to join in tonight. I know it's the new year, and I do know of some people who are going out to parties and have things to do. So really nice to see you guys. Who else just came in? Hey, Awoken. Awoken is here. Marine Life, hi. Chi-Town Reefer, welcome. I don't think I've seen you here before. Bongos Reef, hey, Bongos from the UK. We corresponded in the comments a little today, and I suspected you were from the UK because of the tank that you have. So I looked it up, and it looks like a really nice sized tank. So I'm looking forward to seeing where you go with that series. And if anyone has not run across Bongos Reef before, go and check out his channel and take a look at his inaugural video. It's really cool. So welcome. We've got Reef Keeper. Hey, Phil. Davis Jew. Hey, how are you doing, Davis? I guess your name is Dawn, if I'm right, based on Instagram. Welcome. Diacanthus Reef. Braveheart Reefer from the UK. So you guys from the UK are pretty much up in the middle of the night. So that's it's cool that you could join in. I don't know if you're working or insomniac or what, but nice of you to stop by. Everybody's saying hi to everybody else. So I talked a little about a New Year's resolution that I had. If people make them, I was going to throw away stuff that had expiry dates longer than about 2 months ago, and I've already started. I threw out a whole bunch of very specific types of two little fishies, coral food for gorgonians and chalices and goniopora, and most of it expired in 2017. So it's gone, but I got that far and that was about it. Well, there's Jay Carey. Nice of you to stop by, Jay Carey. Bluegrass Reef. Who else has come in? Oh, we've got John Doe. Tina's Reef. Hey, Tina. Thanks for coming along tonight. Wow, nice to see everybody. We were already up to 27 people watching, so that's pretty awesome. I should say that I sent out around 20 emails about an hour ago. So if you haven't received an email from me with a link and you've been a prior guest or you've requested a link, if that email hasn't arrived, please let me know because something might be up with that. And I'll keep an eye on my Gmail and just make sure I'm not missing anybody. I know at least one of those emails did land because I've heard back from that person who's going to join us a little later. And I just want to make sure I didn't make a mistake when I was sending them out. Go Pats. Yeah, my husband is a Patriots fan and has been for years and years and years since he was a teenager. And he's trying to see what's going to happen with them tonight. Who else is in here? Hey, Pete, Laminar Flow. Nice to see you in the chat. That's awesome. What else is going on? Ari's watching the NFL playoffs. Yep. Oh, Tina, that'd be great if you could hop in. Tina, I looked for your email and I couldn't find it. I only have you on Instagram. So if you could send an email to reefgrrl@gmail.com. I probably do have it somewhere, but I have not. Oh, I got a ticker. I don't want the ticker. I have not been able to find it. So there we go. That's a little better. Okay. So there's the email. Anyone wants a studio link, send me an email and we will get you in here talking about what is going on, what you're doing. BC Miguel 78 is asking about the Orfec OR2 or two T5s. I had T5s before I got the Orfex, and the corals responded to the T5s. I have no doubt they contributed a lot to the growth. I never really liked how T5s looked on my tank, but that wasn't really my prime consideration. I mean, as far as the quality of the light and what the colors were that I could see under them, but the corals definitely responded to them. Then when I saw the OR2s that were in a length long enough to cover my entire tank, I decided to get a pair and try them. And I absolutely love them. It's LED light, of course, versus T5. I chose a pair of Blue Plus, and I adore how they look. I walk into my room, I see my tank, and I absolutely love it. So I don't know if that helps you, depending on what your goals are, but my goal was never to always have a pretty tank to look at and sacrifice growth or health. But it turns out I can get both because now the corals are all growing like crazy. So I'm very confident the Orfec lights have contributed to that as well. And my next tank build, I'm seriously looking into having all Orfec LED lights for it. So we'll see where that goes. Hey, Mermaids Reef. Ari has a question. Oh, the comments jumped. Hey, Chimp the Reefer, nice to see you. Who here uses Bright Whale Phosphate E? Can you dose this while running carbon, or does the carbon soak it up? I have not dosed that. I know a couple people use Brightwell products, so you may get an answer from someone in the chat, but I'll leave that up there on the screen so that everyone can see that. Reefkeeper says, Ari, I've used it with their Purit. Phosphates didn't drop as much as expected. I'd say pull it off. So Phil, do you mean pull off the stuff that Ari's asking about, or the carbon? Phosphate E or the carbon? Bongos Reef says, oh, thank you. Good. Bongos Reef says, Blue Plus are the best. Okay. Oh, and somebody's got Brooke. $24 all-in-one for a week. It's been in a hospital tank. Furan 2. Any tips for using Furan 2? Is it fish? I mean fish. Is it clownfish? Or what type of fish is it? I don't know if that makes a difference. I've never used Furan 2. I've used Metroplex and what's the other stuff? Prazipro. But that was for flukes. It wasn't for Brooklinella. So I don't have an answer for that, but maybe somebody does. Oh, we do have an email. There she is. There's Tina. All right, Tina, I will send you the invitation. I'm just going to mute my Okay, Tina, that is sent. So hopefully you should have it. Ari's talking about messing around with the phosphate E for a week. Carbon is preventing it. Yeah, I don't know anything about that product. Maybe if anybody else can pipe up. Oh, Tina does. She says no carbon. So there you go. Hey, Ed, how's it going? Nice to see you. How's the toilet reef doing? I would love it if you could pop in and show everybody what's going on with the toilet reef. I love that. Oh, hey, Diacanthus. See you in a bit. Acrobreeder. Hey, Acrobreeder. I did send an email out earlier with a link to you as you were a former guest. So let me know if you did not get that, and I will resend it. And Ari says, thanks to Tina. Kent Wong. I'm a newbie to reef stuff. A lot of things to learn. Oh, man. No kidding. I have about 8 years experience, coming up on 9. And every day is something new. What have we got here? Okay. And Phil says, yes, pull the carbon off. Pureit is Brightwell's version of carbon. Okay, got it. That is really good advice, Ed. Take it slow, because nothing good happens fast in a reef setup. Marine Life says, yes, maroon clownfish. Yeah, I don't know. Has anyone here run into that before with Brooklynella, with Furan 2? I know Dave of Dave's Nanotanks used to use Furan 2 to dip zoanthids to try and control bacterial infections. Okay. Here's a question. When you have algae like Aptasia or red slime, how do you treat it? Well, Kent, those are two different things. Aptasia is a type of anemone. They're commonly called glass anemones, and they reproduce really quickly when they're happy, and they sting everything they touch and will easily overrun a tank and kill it. So there are various treatments you can look up. Some work better than others. I would suggest look on YouTube for videos, and people will show you various ways that they've treated them, and see what might work for you. All right, Tina. Hey, Tina, I'm going to join you right now. There she is. Tina.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Good. Have you got any tanks with lights on tonight?
They're all in blues, but I can show you.
Okay.
Probably won't see much. Let's see.
So you've got all 4 marine life in QT, so your main tank is fishless. Yeah. Here's something from Ed.
Yeah, I can see. It's way too dark.
It's that time of night. I'm pretty sure my lights are off now.
Yeah, these guys went off about an hour or so ago, but this is my 75. And then we have the 65 over here.
Nice.
Everything is blue.
Yep. And what are those lights you have on it? They look like a bar light.
Those are the Current Marine LED IC Pros.
Oh, nice.
I love them. They work really well.
You know, it's interesting with this supplementing LEDs with LEDs, because the reason I did a bar light originally, well, even the T5s, because they were 48 inches wide, because I have a Kessel AP700, and those two LED clusters created darker spots in the tank. And adding the 48-inch bar light has put light in places that it never used to have light. So
Yeah.
I have cyphastrias and things growing in the shade that are now starting to color up and come back because the things growing above them shaded them out, and now they actually get light. So that's awesome.
That's cool.
Kent is saying he had a 60-gallon attacked by red slime and aptasia, gave up and sold it. Yeah, I guess, Kent, depending how long ago that was, when I started, I didn't know about YouTube. I had no idea the resources that were available here. And had I known, I would have done a lot of things differently. So I don't know what the timeline is for you, but there is so much information available now, and a lot of different products available that have come along just in the last couple of years that you might find the whole hobby is different now than it used to be. So, it might be worth starting again.
Oh, by the way, excuse my work. I'll look back here behind me. I might want to find y'all a different view. People might be scared of baby parts everywhere.
Yeah. So marine life, if or when it dies, how long till I can buy new clowns? My thing is, if you had those fish in your display, you're going to have to look into the life cycle of Brooklinella and find out when it's going to die out or starve out because it has no host. So you'll have to be fishless for a while. I don't know what that is. Maybe Ed or someone else knows. And Ed said the toilet reef is going decent. Awesome. If you don't know what the toilet reef is, take a look at Ed's YouTube channel and Instagram, and you'll get filled in on that. It's unique. Okay, Yavi mixes GFO with carbon to battle phosphates. Yeah, I don't know, because they don't tumble, right? They're not supposed to tumble, so that would make sense. I'm new too, 5 months tomorrow. Wow, that's too bad about your fish so early on. And Ari, I'm not new, but every other month seems to be a new learning experience. I would certainly agree with that. Oh, we have Alex G. Let's bring Alex G in, and then we're going to ask Tina the troll question, okay? Because we always ask our new guests a troll question, and we'll see what that's all about. Let's say hi to Alex. Hey, Alex.
Hey, everybody.
How are you?
Oh, not bad. Happy 2020, everybody.
Yeah, Happy New Year. I guess I should have started by saying that. Hopefully I'm not giving myself bad luck.
No, I think you'll be just fine. So, just enjoying a quiet evening.
All right, so let's do the troll question. So this is just a question that I ask. Let me see here. I'll find my notes. It's an icebreaker. So Tina, if you've witnessed the troll question, you'll know. It's not hard. I got the glasses all picked out. Where are they? Okay. So here we go. All right. There's the troll glasses for tonight. So I'm guarding the bridge into the studio, and I've got a question for you. So if you think of the most frustrating reefing experience you've ever had, what did you learn from that?
To quarantine my fish.
There you go. Good answer. I'm sure that's a pretty common experience with people. Oh, Acro Breeder didn't get his invite.
I learned the hard way when I was really new, so.
Yeah. Oh, Hunter's here. Finally made a live stream. Hey, Hunter. How's it going? Ed says when Brooke showed up, the clownfish were dead in a couple of days, and he didn't get copper fast enough. So I would say marine life, if your fish are still alive and you're able to do so, you could try and save them. Here's a question for you, Alex.
All right.
Ari wants to know if that big skimmer makes your whole basement smell lovely.
Only if I clean it and it hasn't been cleaned in over 1 week.
Okay. Are you able to show us your skimmer tonight and talk a little bit about how you made it, etc.? Because maybe a lot of people on here have not seen this thing.
That little thing?
A person could fit in this thing.
Hold on. I need my reference bucket. I find it's the best way to show its true size. With a 5-gallon bucket.
Bye, Hunter. Thanks for coming in.
So, this is my DIY skimmer. I built this a little differently than some traditional DIY skimmers. Its body is a roto-molded HDPE tank, and it would be a cone bottom tank. So if you could imagine it upside down, it would normally have the bottom of the tank has got the cone on the bottom. And I decided to go with this because it had a good skimmer body shape, and trying to find skimmer bodies in really large sizes is not easy. So I figured this would be a great, easy way to start off my skimmer. And glasses down. So it is a little deceptive. The skimmer body is about 33, 32 inches, maybe 34 inches in diameter. So this whole induction tank is a 60-gallon induction tank. And I chose this. I basically decided I did not want to purchase a commercial grade skimmer that could hold or have a capacity of 2,000 gallons or more. If anyone's ever looked at stuff, when you get into commercial grade equipment, you get commercial grade pricing. And to purchase a retail skimmer around this would probably be in the neighborhood of $3,000 to $5,000 US, maybe more. So building one for a fraction of that cost was something that I felt was very important to help my build along. And it's a little different setup than a normal skimmer, just from the fact that it's gravity fed for its main water supply. So on most skimmers, you have a pump that it will pump water into the protein skimmer and generally have a needle wheel in it. Whereas this one, it's getting its water through a gravity feed, and then it uses two Jabo pumps, 15,000s, and they just, you can kind of see it in there. It's way off in the back corner is the pump, so it basically just sucks water in here and then blows it back inside of a bubble chamber I made it. And it just recirculates. So there's two of those pumps, and then water just flows into the main skimmer body. And it's been a pretty effective skimmer. I'd say it does a pretty decent job.
No kidding. I'm always amazed that it's just, I mean, gravity that pushes the water through that thing.
And let me see if I can try and sit down and get a perspective here. So those are the drain line. This is my main drain. So yeah, 6.5-inch overflows. They all come in here and then they go down there through a big U-trap like under your sink. Comes up here, and then some of the water goes into the sump or a filter sock tray, and then my second pipe here feeds the skimmer. So that holds the water level pretty close to up here, as high as I can get it without restricting the drain too much.
I remember when you were going through the testing, and I'm pretty sure you did a video on that, and we saw some on the live stream where you were looking into trying to get that foam up higher and changing little bits and pieces about the design to push it up where you needed to.
Yeah, that was a big challenge, because so this is actually the outflow of the skimmer.
Yeah. Wow.
Move a couple of things here.
420 says that skimmer could skim out an entire fish.
So you can see the water comes up here, and because it's gravity fed, this pipe helps keep the water level in the skimmer higher, which helps keep it up at a different level. Oh, I haven't looked down here in a while. I got lots of worms.
Wow.
You.
Hey, Ed, if you email reefgrrl@gmail.com, I'll send you the studio. I'll send you an invitation. Oh, here we are. I see your email. I'll take care of it right now. And there's a question, and maybe Alex, you might know, or anybody in the chat. Ryan has a question asking how he can dose 8 mils of Red Sea alk daily and not need to dose magnesium or calcium. And alk is 8.8, calcium at 485, magnesium at 1600. That's high.
Yeah, that's...
I would look at your salt and see what the level, like maybe test a batch of your mixed salt water, the new mixed salt water, and see what levels you're putting in when you do water changes, if you do water changes.
That's what I was just going to ask. I was wondering, because my mag runs really high too, 1600 plus, and I use the instant ocean reef crystals, so the orange box, and everything runs really high in there. I don't even have alkalinity, anything. I don't have to dose nothing.
Yeah, I would say because I don't know how the Red Sea, the alk daily, if that is like a 3-part system where it's dosing all 3, or if you could just dose alk, if that's what's lowering. A stable magnesium kind of helps keep everything else a little easier to control. But yeah, if it's really out of whack and you're not able to, it's just not lowering naturally, you might want to consider some water changes, and then, yeah, testing that water.
Yeah, water change, as long as the parameters of your water, because you could have a batch of salt that's a little bit off what it should be. And if you're working your way through it, it could just be making the problem incrementally worse. So it might be worth checking that.
The other thing I would also consider too is if those are the numbers you're testing, if you have a spare test kit or another test kit, or if you've got a local fish store that'll do a water test, or even an ICP, that could be a good way to kind of double check your results and make sure it's not a faulty kit.
Yeah, that's true too. I had a problem with a magnesium kit at one point that was showing me magnesium of 800 or 1800. And well, you have to refill your syringe and then count from there to get that. And it turned out it was expired. Reef Keeper says, I still remember when Alex had an empty basement wrapped in plastic. I do too, Phil.
Well, it's still partially wrapped in plastic.
Well, it has
for
to be.
good reason.
Oh,
But no, the plastic sheets are missing.
Ryan says he's using Aquaforest Reef salt. He had two, oh no, I'm sorry. Phil is asking if it's Aquaforest Reef salt because he had 2 boxes mix up over 1,600 in magnesium. So, you know, maybe Ryan, that might be a step you can take. We have a couple people waiting to come in. We've got, oh, I'm sorry, Alex. Are we finished with the skimmer tour? Does anybody have any questions?
No, I think that pretty much covers it. I think the only thing I have that's a little different, although I'm gonna have to wash my hand now, is I do have this lovely piece in the
I
skimmer.
remember. I remember that. That was to help the foam climb up.
Yeah, it restricted the air coming in, which you can kind of see down there.
Wow.
But yeah, it gets a nice grossness to it. It's due for a cleaning tomorrow.
Nice.
Sunday's cleaning day.
So we got to see it at its best. Working hard.
Yep.
Awesome.
That
Thanks,
looks
Alex.
yum. Yep.
All right, let's get Ed in here. And then we've got Laminar Flow waiting in his mad scientist basement. Looks like it's the fish room. So we'll bring these guys in and let them say hi, and then I can ask them the troll question, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's Ed, EDK. How's it going, Ed?
Hi.
Hi.
Everything's going pretty good.
Good. So everybody, this is EDK Reefmeister. Check out the toilet reef. It's pretty awesome, isn't it?
So I don't know if many of you guys might know, I sold my house last year and had to move to Pennsylvania. And I was not going to reef anymore. So I broke down all my tanks. I sold all my fish to the LFS. And when I got home, I found 2 fish still in the nano. I guess they were hiding when I was breaking everything down. So me and the wife decided that screw it, we're going to take the tank with us to Pennsylvania, and we rent an apartment. And just so happens that the spare bathroom has this perfect spot for the Red Sea Max Nano right there. So, and it's got the laminate floors, so I didn't want to put a reef tank on carpet, so that's why it's here. So here it is.
I can't think of anything I would want more in my bathroom than a reef tank.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
You could just sit there in a tub relaxing and watch the fishies fly.
Exactly.
So I gotta ask, this is the only bathroom in the apartment?
No, this is the second bathroom that we don't use very much. Yeah.
I was gonna say, is there a lot of knocking on the door for people to start saying, "Please get out"?
No. It does make going to the bathroom fun, though. I'll tell you what.
Yep.
So, but honestly, I'm a bad reefer. I don't do much maintenance on this. I've lived in this apartment for, I don't know, a little over a year. And I've only done like 3 water changes. And that's it. This Kenya tree that Dave's Nano Tanks gave me 2 years ago is kind of exploded in here and kind of taken over. So Aries busting my chops.
Yeah. It has high phosphates from airborne particles. Uh-huh. That's cool. Planet 3D. Hey, Planet 3D. That's a beautiful rock flower. Wow.
Yeah, he is. But he also eats all my cleanup crew. Every once in a while, there's a graveyard down here of just snails and crabs. So
like he actually becomes a predator, or they crawl on him and get in trouble?
Yep, he just folds inside out, eats them, and then that's it.
Wow, I did not know they could do that. Hey, Oral, how you doing? Reefing with O is in here. Got to run a lot of carbon on that.
You know what's actually funny is I just changed out my carbon. I know, like I said, I'm an awful reefer. I had what's that? What the heck is this stuff called? I have it right here. Hold on, stickers. What's this stuff? Chemi Pure Blue.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I've had that running in the tank for a year and a half. I forgot that it was in there, so it was probably a nitrate factory, and I finally switched it out about 2 weeks ago.
Right. But everything looks
But,
good in there. I mean, it doesn't look like there's any suffering going on or overly covered with algae, or the sand looks good.
Yeah, I don't know why. The glass gets dirty. I have to scrape it like twice a week. But you could see my random flow generator got a little bit of hair on it. But I'll pull it out once a
Yeah.
week or once every other week and clean it.
Yeah.
It's a bit though. And the only thing I have also a problem too is my MP10 start to make a little noise. And I
Oh,
think it's the side that's on inside the tank. I don't know what's going on with it, but it's a little bit of a knocking. So I don't know what I mean.
have you checked the magnet to make sure that it's intact, the casing is intact?
Yeah, the magnet seems fine. It sounds like it's not coming from this side. Like I said, on the inside. So I don't know how to check it otherwise. I've taken it apart a few times to clean it, but
I love this. Ari says, I don't understand why there's a 24-inch gap between the toilet and sink either. You know what? That just makes me think we're going to be getting a new house. Maybe I need to have my bathroom custom built to allow space for something
Yeah.
like this. That has given me an idea. Thanks, Ari.
So
there
the
you
one
go.
question I have on this, just because I always think about this every time I'm cleaning the bathroom, and just the caution with washing my hands is, how do you handle utilizing like household cleaners around the in the bathroom around the aquarium?
What I do is I'll spray it onto the paper towel or the rag away from the tank, and then wipe directly onto whatever I'm cleaning. I don't spray anything in the air or directly onto anything. I spray everything directly onto a rag or a paper towel away from the tank.
Nice. I'm going to bring Laminar Flow in the studio because he was in before, and I think he thought I didn't see him, and he went out and came back. So let's bring him in.
Great.
Hey, Laminar Flow. I did see you before. I'm sorry. I should have brought you and Ed in at the same time. Welcome.
No worries. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Can you hear us?
All right. Yeah, I can. Well, this is I'm new to all of that. So, yeah, no, it wasn't me worrying about you getting me in as much as me just messing around with things and saying, oh, well, what if I do this? And yeah, I wound up popping up. So
Okay. So we'll
That's no
let Ed finish the toilet reef tank tour. And
yeah, it's going to be tough for me to follow that. Although I'm really glad that Ed is following the hundreds and hundreds of gallons tour, because that's a tough one to follow too.
yeah, no kidding. So Ed, Bongo's Reef wants to know where the power is coming from. That's a good question in a bathroom.
So this is what I had to do in an apartment. Let me turn on the lights. There's only one plug in here. Why am I putting this on here?
Oh, wow.
There.
The
Here's
fluorescence.
the vanity. Runs down here. I kind of worry about that sometimes, but just goes to the back of the tank and right up there on this little shelf that I have.
Oh. Yep, power bars are your savior.
Yep, and you know what? I do have a backup battery power supply for the MP10, but it's in storage, and I really should use it, but I don't because I'm being a bad reefer, and yeah, it's something I have to do.
Boy, Ari's hot tonight. Here's another question. Ed, do you ever get numb cheeks from sitting too long staring at the tank? That would be, I guarantee that would be when I would find all the problems, when I couldn't do anything about it.
That's a private question, Ari, and I'll direct message you the answer.
So how long has it been set up now, Ed?
Well, I've been in this apartment since last September, so a year and like 4 months. And I bought this. This was my first reef tank back in like 3 years now. So this tank's been running for 3 years. Now this rock right here, I know Death Mage is in the chat. This is the rock that I carved for my big tank. I took out my other rocks, and this is just one rock right here.
Wow.
And then we named this rock after Mage. This
I
is
haven't
Mage's.
seen I haven't seen Mage around for quite a long time.
She's in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's in here?
Yes. She's on in the chats. Yep.
Oh, I
Yeah,
didn't see her.
Or at least
She's
she was.
here today.
Oh, is she under a different account?
No, it said Death Mage.
Oh my God, I'll have to look for that. And,
And I just want to let
sorry.
you know I do top this off with tap water too. So
wow, good for you.
super bad reefer.
Planet 3D says only 3 water changes in a year. You need to flush more.
Yeah. Oh, see, this is what it's like living in an apartment. I have water change stuff and towels and pre-made salt water. We don't shower in here, so it is what it is.
You do what you have to do for the reef.
Yep.
Jonas is planning on adding a tank overnight to surprise his wife in the morning. Do it, Jonas.
Yeah,
And
don't put
then
any fish in it though.
think of the content for YouTube if you did that. That would be so awesome. Everybody's saying, "Do it, Jonas." Phil,
Do it, Jonas. Do it.
You'd have to plant a camera so that you'd catch a reaction. Though.
yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
See, I don't know if you can see, but I have a dunk in there, but the Kenya tree is irritating it. So
Oh
plus
yeah.
the lights are dimming, but it's back there.
Hey, Calypsos, how's it going? Hector's in here. Shower tank. That's an idea. Awoken is suggesting a shower tank because that could be a lot bigger, right?
I could have went bigger in the shower.
Ari says turn the tub into a sump.
You got room for plumbing.
It's not a bad idea.
Oh, that's hilarious. Oh, and we have CJ's Aquariums. Hey, CJ. Nice to see you. You're making some progress on your tank. That's awesome. Who else have we got in here? Everybody's talking about pests and Majanos or Mahanos and colonial hydroids. I had colonial hydroids, and they spread like wildfire. And I had to throw the rocks out that had them on because I could not get rid of them.
I'm concerned. What is that?
It's a little tiny, looks like a feather duster. And each one has a little tube. And the tubes are sharp as needles if you brush against them with your hand.
They sting like heck.
Yep, and they spread like crazy.
Now mine went away on their own. I didn't have to do anything. I had them when I first started up to 75, but
I think they're filter feeders. So I had them in Mollywood. And of course, well, not Mollywood. No, that's not right. It was in the 10-gallon or 20-gallon Molly breeder tank, which did not have the best water quality all the time. And there was a lot of stuff floating around in there all the time. So I think that's why they thrived in there. There was a lot of food for them.
that could be.
Awoken says, Dave would have loved this tank for sure. I totally agree. He would have got a big laugh out of that.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, you know what? Dave knew about this tank. He knew it
Oh,
was
did he? Oh, cool. So did he give you the Kenya tree specifically to live in this tank?
I went over his house once, about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, and he gave me a few frags. He gave me like 2 or 3 mushrooms, which you could see the green ones have exploded all over this rock.
Yep.
He gave me a piece of Kenya tree, maybe, I can't, that big right there.
Right.
Now it's this and this and this.
They like to travel.
Yep. But yeah, not specifically for this tank, but he just gave me some freebies,
Nice.
and those are the ones that survived.
So here's a question from Ari. I think he's being serious. Do we find more pests buying from other hobbyists or from fish stores? That's a really good question.
I'm gonna say from fish stores, but
That's what I was going to say too.
Yeah, it seems to me like local hobbyists have more time to treat their stuff. So fish stores just want it in and out. You know, they want the turnover, so they don't take the time maybe to clear it up. But Ari says he thinks local hobbyists are worse when it comes to dipping and finding tank pests. Well, maybe. I guess it depends on what your local hobbyists are like. Okay, so are we ready for the troll questions? I guess we'll ask them, and then we can get Laminar Flow to show us his PVC addiction. So we'll get the troll glasses on. All right, I'm guarding the bridge, and so Ed, in one sentence, can you describe your first reef tank?
well, you're looking at it.
This isn't. Oh, I guess it is, right? But what was
Yeah.
it like when you first set it up? Like, what was your very first reef tank like when you set it up? One sentence.
When I set it up, everything was sparkling clean, and then everything turned brown, and I overreacted and freaked out about a lot of things. And Dave taught me a lot, and he told me to keep my damn hands out of the tank, leave it alone, let it get through its ugly phase, and it'll be beautiful one day. And he was right.
Nice. That's a good story. So let's get Laminar Flow up here. And there we are. Now, this is your fish room, and it's in your basement. Your main display is upstairs from here.
That's correct.
Right?
That's
And
correct.
so,
This is the mad scientist cave.
so let me ask you the troll question. We'll get that out of the way. And this is just really just to, get to know each other a little better and break the ice. So do you know, within $100, and you don't have to say the answer because I'm not going to be responsible for any divorces. I've said this before. But do you know within $100 how much you've spent on your hobby in the last 12 months?
No.
No. Yes.
No, that's a one
Glasses
word
can come off.
answer.
It is really just a yes or no question.
I could take a guess, but it's probably less than many. I don't know. It's as a generalization. I'm kind of a cheap bastard, and it's run me into problems a few times, based on hey, I can do this way and it'll work, and yeah, it doesn't really always. But yeah, I've been kind of picking at things. That's sort of one of my I don't know how to say it. It's one of my YouTube pet peeves. I'll stop following people on YouTube if I find that they're just spending ludicrous money on things, because I'm like, yeah, I'll never get there, so I just stop watching.
It becomes less relevant, doesn't it, to your experience?
Entirely irrelevant. Yeah,
Yeah.
is what it comes down to. Oh, hang on, I've got a phone. All right, it's better. Sorry, I've got a handful of things that I needed to do, and that's why I said, hey, I'll jump in tonight, and you can kind of go through all of my stuff. So I can take here. I'll pull you off my tripod, and my first fun one is to show everyone my tripod. So that's my tripod.
I love that.
I did a video of it a long time back and got very few sort of comments from people, but literally that's what I use for a tripod. It goes back to the cheap bastard comment, right? That, you know, my phone fits really nicely in these two little slots in the box, and I just take the box and I move it places. So I've done a bunch of tripod based videos that, you know, are with this little box. And we cleaned the basement I don't know, it was a year ago at some point, and my wife tossed this in the trash, and I'm like, what are you doing? That's important. You know, and I got the why, and I said, it's my tripod, and she gave me a dirty look. And anyway, so yeah, it kind of fits things. So I don't know where to start. Actually, I can start here. So Cindy, you can call me Pete.
Okay.
And
Pete.
so can everybody else at this point. But so
Awesome.
laminar flow is an interesting why laminar flow. Yeah, there's a longer story behind that, but the short story is someone asked me sort of a troll question years ago, if I were to start a heavy rock band, what would I name it? And the answer was Laminar Flow, and since I don't expect to ever start a heavy rock band, I chose it as a YouTube account name a couple of years ago when I started. So
all right, so now you have to tell us what instrument you would play in a heavy rock band.
Oh, I'm a drummer.
Oh, of course. Okay.
I'm a drummer. Yeah, that's where it would have gone. But the guy that asked me worked at a company. We were designing a system to simulate fluid flows, and laminar flow was a common term in our day-to-day vocabulary, and you know, it seemed like a really good name for a rock band. So let me sort of walk those through who've never been here before. Here, I'll kind of give you the walk-in as we come in. So in my basement, which is entirely unfinished and pretty much just a playroom for children, all of which who are grown at this point, I have this little fish room cordoned off. I have basically here everything that is not my display. My display is upstairs in the living room. It's a 125, so 6 foot long, 18-inch deep, 24-inch high dual overflow tank. And when I put all this together, it's sort of built into a bookcase up there. The goal was to never carry a bucket of water through the living room. And this is sort of what came of all of this. So if we go up towards the ceiling, I've got a number of overflows that come down from the tank. I've got a primary, a secondary, and a tertiary overflow there. Essentially a bean animal overflow, but it's in two different corners of the tank upstairs, so it's not your traditional bean, but the tank came pre-drilled with two corners. So that's kind of what I've done. So one of the two corners has a return going back up into it, and then I've got one coming over the top of top edge of the tank as well. But so the big pipe is going back up, so my returns come down into my sump, which is something I acquired on Craigslist, again, cheap bastard, years ago, with a bunch of cut glass in pieces that set up my baffles. But I've got an overflow. I've got a it's a rotor tube. For those of you who have watched rotor tube, I love stealing ideas from people. Watched a lot of the YouTube videos of a lot of folks out there. Alex G, man, your build, I watched just about everything you had on your build all the way through. So again, really difficult to really difficult to follow showing anything after like some of your PVC work and all the rest of that. So, but basically overflow, I've got a skimmer. Again, it's the Craigslist skimmer, but it's been rocking. This Vertec, you know, generates a lot of stuff. I lost the cap on it, so I stuffed a little tube on it. It overflows into this little bin because every once in a while, if I'm really lazy, which is often, it'll freak out and overflow. But I'd rather sort of take out everything I can on a daily basis than not. I've got a carbon filter back there that comes off of my manifold. I run through, it's not really refugium area, it's just an area, we'll call it that. But I suck out of here, go into my UV, which needs a new bulb, which is over here on the side. I just picked up a new bulb, through some filters and back up through the pump. So that gets me back to the main display. And then in parallel, I've got a refugium, which is my original tank, Cindy.
Wow.
This is a 17-year-old tank. So you didn't ask me what's my first tank, but this was my first tank.
Yep.
I had this, it was fish only. I lived actually up in the Massachusetts area outside of Boston, near where you guys know Mike Lemming.
Yep.
If you're aware of Mike's early videos, Mike and I were buying fish from the same store. They are a fish store. They sell fish. They don't do anything to help you not kill the fish. They'll just sell you more fish.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what we did for 4 or 5 years. We bought fish and we killed fish. Our kill rate was ludicrously high. And I was all but uninformed. And I mean, I don't know if you can see, like, you know, out of the glass on this.
Ed wants to know if it's the same silicone.
It is. It is. And it's moved, right? I live in North Carolina now. So this tank took a ride in the back seat of a Toyota Highlander coming from Massachusetts to North Carolina, I don't know, 12 years ago. And then it moved across town to another house, and then it moved to this house, and it's been around. I drilled it long afterward. So yeah, it's all original stuff. I don't know. Ed, do you think I'm like in trouble? I don't know. I've never seen leaks on it. But that was my original tank. It's my refugium at this point. You can see I've got my evil clownfish in here, which those of you who follow me know the story on this.
Yeah.
This is the fish that I blinded with a laser, and then nursed back to ability to see, which I can prove to you if you'd like.
I think it's awesome. But it's awesome how you brought her through that.
Yeah, well, I mean, especially after like how many times she has bit my hands every time I put them in the tank. Just about every time I put my hands in the tank, right? And the funny thing is, I was trying for a long time to figure out how I was going to get her out of my main display, and the reality is, once your fish is blind, it's pretty easy to catch. You can just let them. You can get them real easy.
Woo!
When
Thanks,
they can't
Billy.
see.
Thanks, Billy. Super chat. Hi. Enjoy your date night. Happy New Year to everyone. Sorry, Pete.
Billy.
I interrupted, but yeah.
Hi. No, that's hey. You can
Pete says
interrupt.
hi.
Like Pike sends you money. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So that's what exists in here. I don't know if I can catch it. There's. Can you see that?
It's really.
Am I zooming in?
It's quite grainy. What are we looking at?
Yeah.
What are you showing us?
Let's see if I can hold it. There's a little tiny fish in the back corner here.
Oh.
Can you see that there?
Is it at the top or bottom?
It's sort of at the bottom of the view right now. Yeah, the glass is really dirty and everything. Hang on, I just lost it again. Oh, no, it's drifting down. It's hiding from me. Anyway, so this refugium has this little fish in it that I didn't put there.
Wow.
I don't know how it got there. It obviously
Maybe,
came in
maybe
on,
it was an
I don't know,
egg.
yeah, it had to have been in an egg coming in on some macro that I bought. I've made like 5 or 6 attempts at trying to grow macro here, like legit macro, not hair algae, which is all I've got in here now is hair algae. But the main display upstairs doesn't have hair algae, so I'm kind of winging this and saying, yeah, okay, good, it's taking out nutrients. So I come down here and harvest the hair algae out of this every couple of weeks, and
Hey, listen, that's what an algae scrubber does, right? So there you go. That's what refugiums are for.
Yeah, I wouldn't be upset about bad algae if it's growing someplace and it's not the display. There's nothing wrong with that.
What do you think? Is it worth trying to get some legit macro in there? Maybe some caulerpa or something? Every time I put chaeto in there, the chaeto just gets like clogged with hair algae. And
what sort of flow do you have in there? Like, it looks like the water surface is churning pretty good.
The surface is churning. Okay, it's pore flow is what it is. Again, cheap bastard. We'll go back to that comment. I'll keep. It's a reoccurring theme. I'll give you. Look at this. Is really funny. Look at the algae on that snail. Is that awesome or what?
It is.
That's pretty good. So I've just got a crappy power head in here that sort of churns things around. I've got, water coming in from the main system. It's not a heavy flow in here because the majority of my flow goes to the and a minority of my flow, I don't know what percentage, but I'm going to guess, 10% or less goes to the 2 tanks down here. So it's a small amount, but I don't know. So you think flow might be?
Well, just thinking that Cato
like crank up flow in there would help.
Cato really likes good flow, and I've got bubble algae growing in my sump, along with a little bit of hair algae, but I have 2 snails down there that keep that in check. But because of where my Cato is, it's got super flow through it, and I never get I don't even get film algae on it like I get when I put any Cato in Mollywood. When I put Cato in Mollywood, it gets covered with film algae, and that's what the mollies nibble on. So in my case, I think it's the flow that stops anything from being able to settle on it. I don't know. What do you think, Alex?
Well, I mean, sometimes it could be that, but I don't, like, even in my refugium, like, I have a lot of different algae in there, and some are less than desirable. And what I found, like, the Cato I have, it has a decent amount of flow hitting it, but it's also being just pounded by light where it's at. But I still get a lot of other algae that go, and I've attempted to. I originally wanted to do a lot of macroalgae in mine. It's just hard to control competition, though, in a refugium-style environment. If you were really looking to try and introduce macros into it, I would probably suggest getting a whole bunch of them at once. And if you're looking for macroalgae, I'd look at liveplants.com.
Yeah.
It's like live-plants.com. They're an outfit out of Florida. It's like a husband-wife couple that they go out diving and they grow the macros.
Yeah. I've bought from them. They're good. They're awesome. They provide some really good materials. But so last time I bought from them, I had less light on this. So again, we'll go back to the cheap bastard thing. Here, sorry, I had you on the tripod. So back on the cheap bastard. So my lighting on this, these are like really cheesy old LEDs, right? So I bought these even before I put water in the upstairs display, and my thought was, hey, they're LEDs, they're cheap, they'll work. So this is what I had upstairs for a long time, and so when I got better LEDs, not high-end LEDs, but better, we'll say, these came down here. So I've got a crap load of light on here now, and it's a refugium, so it runs reverse. But yeah, last time I tried to buy real macro for this, I had even worse lighting. You know, I had like the Home Depot clamp light with a grow light on it, which really wasn't doing enough.
Yeah,
You know,
some of those calurpas and stuff really need to get, and even a lot of the red macros. The more you blast them, the better they do.
Yeah. So I'm gonna try it again. It's probably the wrong season to get good algae from. I don't know how much diving they do in the winter. I've checked them in the past, Alex, in the winter, and found their stock was really low on most everything. But
yeah, and a lot of what, if you start reading some of their articles and stuff, and some of the things I've learned is that some of those macros are seasonal. That they have a growing season where they grow really heavy, and that's when they harvest, and then they kind of die off. So it's part of it's kind of hitting the season to see, but some of those the red halamitas and the red grape algae are really good choices.
yeah, the one I've used is Alva. Again, cheap bastard thought was, hey, if I get it to grow, I could feed it to tangs upstairs. Because I've read that that's one of the things the tangs really love. But I've never done anything but just kill it, right? It just dies off, withers away.
Yeah, some of those macros could be like, I mean, I won't lie. I mean, I've tried a lot of their more difficult species, but generally the red grapes and the halamitas, the reds, are some of the hardiest ones. They're the most forgiving, and tangs love those too. They'll usually rip that stuff apart within a few seconds.
All right. Sounds like I have a plan.
Nice.
So, all right. You want to finish the tour here, Cindy? I'm sure you've got other people in here.
Hey, listen, I want everyone to take a few moments and appreciate the beauty of all that PVC. It's astonishing.
I had an addiction for a long time. And yeah, here. Nothing, right, compared to like Jeff at Daily Reefing.
Wow.
Got points, right? And I know, Alex, you're probably, you're laughing. You're like, dude, I got a lot more than that.
But mine's not very complex, though. It's pretty simple. You got a lot going on.
Far better. I mean, a lot of this got added as I went. So this is the last one that I added as I went through, was like, hey, I've got this 29, I could make a frag tank, right? And again, it was, well, what would I do on the side, which came to here, and then, yeah, I really needed up another, 5 or 6 inches to gravity flow around. And so, I tweak things and do different things. But this is my frag tank. I'm, I guess I won't even tell you. I'm embarrassed to show you how much algae is in this. I have not cleaned. Again, this is why I was down here tonight, was to do some stuff. And I don't really have a lot of high-end stuff, but, I kind of frag out something here or there. One of my local fish stores is a reef farm, literally like outdoors. It's a greenhouse, and they grow coral in the greenhouse, and they will take in pretty much anything I take them. So you see somebody else had Kenya trees on there before. So like every time my Kenyas shed, I kind of pick them off and I bring them down here, and I try to get them to stick on a rock or something that I can clip and glue onto something, and I take them back to them, and they give me, a buck of frag or something for them. It's nothing, but it's okay. We need video from Reefgrrl. Am I still in? Cindy, can you still hear me?
Yep.
No.
Sorry.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
All right.
I think he was talking to Rogue Aquariums, but I was just thinking to myself, well,
okay.
you have videos, because that's why I know how this works, because I've watched your videos.
You've seen all of this. You've seen all of this. But anyway, that's my frag tank. And then the last thing I've got over here, and this is interesting and worthy of people knowing, is my QT on the other side. So again, I started out with a 65 and I killed stuff a lot. And when I started back in this setup, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago, when I started planning through things, I started watching videos. I started learning a lot more. Fish of Hex was one. I've watched every Fish of Hex video he's ever put out. The dude's put out like 500 videos. I watched them all. I guarantee it. And I am a firm believer in one of the big things he preaches, which is QT. Because I would far rather kill a fish over here than put it in my main display and kill everything there. So that's kind of what I've been doing. My last video I posted, it's been a couple of months. I questioned whether I should get a small tang to put over in the frag tank to try to work on my algae. And I picked up one, and it's had all kinds of problems. I don't know if you can see it in there. I've dubbed this fish, I've named it Peekaboo, because this damn fish, every time I see it, it just runs and hides in the pipe. And I'll sneak down here and kind of like peep my head around the corner and find it swimming around happily, and I step out and it goes whoop into the pipe. So I don't know if it's healthy or not. It definitely had ick a month ago. So it's been treated with copper. I don't know if anybody does this, right? I treated it with copper on the 2nd of December. I've, put it through hyposalinity. I've whatever. But it's in here. It's almost ready to go, but I don't know about the mannerisms on it. I mean, if it's gonna hide every time I come down here, do I care? Maybe I don't.
What kind of tang is it?
It's a Tamini.
Yeah, I have one of those. Yep.
And what is yours like? Super better picture of it. I don't know.
She is skittish.
It's
I would describe her as skittish. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely had ick. I don't know, 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I've treated it, and all the spots on the body are gone. But it's been in here. I picked it up. Let's see, November 12th. It looks like. 11th. I'm sorry, November 11th. So it's been in here for like 2 months at this point, almost.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just totally skittish. But anyway,
what I did was I wrapped. I took a small rock, and I took some sheets of nori or sea veggies or whatever, and
yeah.
I wrapped small pieces around some algae pellets and put Celcon on it, and then I rubber banded the little sausage package to a small rock. And I put it right near the cave where she was always hiding, because she was tiny. She was the size of a quarter, and she got beat up really bad by everyone else when I first put her in the tank. So after a day or so, I started putting this rock right outside her cave so she could have a food source close by and heal and get better. And now she swims around the tank, but if I walk in the room and she's out, she'll dart into the back. So, Rogue Aquariums, thank you. Keep up the good work. I appreciate that very much. It all helps keep the stream going. So, thank you. Okay, so we have awoken with a plumbing question.
That's a tour for you, Cindy.
And I would say look up Laminar Flow on YouTube. That's his channel name, Laminar. Just like it sounds, Flow, F-L-O-W, 2 words. And you can find all his videos and see what he's got going on down here. It is always really interesting. So check it out.
I filmed a tank update upstairs yesterday.
Cool.
Which I need to cut up and get on to posted. My dad's been writing me saying, hey, how come I haven't seen your fish? So
awesome.
It's been good. It's last couple of weeks have been kind of crazy. We had a big set of guests for Christmas, and then 2 days before Christmas, my 22-year-old son, who's just gotten out of college, brought home a puppy.
Oh, boy. Yep.
throw a puppy and 6 house guests in for the holidays. It was kind of fun.
Yep. Yep.
But
awesome. All right. Thank you,
I'll
Pete.
get you puppy pictures next time.
Good. All right. Let's bring.
I know you're a fan.
Oh, I'm a big fan. I always consider it a bonus when we see cats and dogs. I think that's cool. So we have awoken with a plumbing question. And before we get to that, I just want to say hi to some people who have popped in. We have PR Fish Girl. Hey, Monica. I'm really glad you could stop in. I did send you an email earlier with the link. So I don't know if you got it because I think some of the emails I sent, I must have done it wrong because I don't think everybody got theirs. But let me know if you want a link and I will send you another email and you can show us what's happening with that 200 plus you got going on there. Broke Reef Man, talking about his Tomini Tang. I saw you earlier, Broke Reef Man. Welcome. Drama D, Chad Kurtz, Click Clacks. Nice to see you, Click Clacks. Who else is here? Marlins C. Lynn Reef Nerd. I can't remember if I said hi to you earlier, but I have seen you here in the chat. I've been kind of watching things. Richmond Reefer is here. Same thing, Jose, if you want a link to pop in and show us what's happening with your Christmas sump, that'd be great. A little bit of a reef. Nice to see you. Thanks for coming in. So, Awoken, you said you have a plumbing question, and we're not going to make you answer the troll question because you've done it before. So we'll let you off tonight.
Okay, great. How's everyone doing?
Good.
Good.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year. So I finally got the sump out of the crate it came in. Now I'm just curious of people's opinions. So it flows from left to right, obviously. My first question is, do you think I should put unions on the drains right here, the 1.5-inch drains? Anyone have any opinion on that?
Unions, what, above where the drains are going to go in?
Yeah, if they're coming in like this,
Mm-hmm.
putting a drain right here. I mean, a union right here. I've never done that before. It's going to cost more money. It's going to be more work, and it's going to look worse. But it kind of seems like a good idea. What do you think, Alex?
So a question I would have is, can you remove the sump from underneath the tank if it doesn't have that union?
No, absolutely not.
So if you have the union there, then you can for sure pull the sump out?
Yeah, it'll be really easy to do that because, well, so this part comes out, and then you could put the pipes. I'm going to glue the pipes in here for the full drain. So the pipes go, down into the chamber.
Mm-hmm.
But once that's all glued in with no unions, there's no way to get it out unless I cut the 1.5-inch pipes, which this sump, I want to, keep it as long as possible. And I'm always changing what I got going on. My tank is not my dream tank by any means. So I'm thinking it'd be smarter to put unions.
I would say for sure that a union would be the way to go. The thing that even if you have a union there is if you put a union in there and you want to slide the sump out, does it have to lift it all or could it just slide out?
It would just slide out the long way,
Okay.
come out like on the right side of the stand. It would just slide straight out.
Yeah, as long as it's not, because I'd hate to see we put unions in, but it's got to lift up and it just hits the pipe. So
Gotcha. Yeah.
I
Well, I have
do it down.
where the box is. I have unions on the box. So then it would be a union right out of the box, then a union right before the sump. So I could just pull those pipes right out, and then do whatever I want with the box and the sump in the future too.
So it's not a pressure fitting though, right? You're just gravity feeding through there.
One's going to be a full siphon. It's going to be a lot. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of gallons per hour. The other one of them's gravity, just like as a backup.
There's a lot of flow, but it's not under a lot of pressure because it's coming out. It's daylighting just below there. So what I was going
Right.
to point out to you is a lot of the PVC fittings, you could press fit them, right? So my filter right now, it's running a lot of flow, and it's just press fit in here, right? That's how I change my, right? I mean, so the water runs off, it's coming through, right? I mean, so you could put a union in, or you could possibly find something that would just press fit in.
Wait, what was that? That was you.
So I've got an 1.5 inch, or it's a 1 inch PVC coming down to I don't know, what is a 1 to 2 coupler that feeds through. It's literally just press fit in here.
Gotcha.
So I mean, I don't have a union on it, and if I want to pull it out, I can just pull it out. And I do it 3 or 4 times a day to change the floss that's in this tube.
All right.
Again,
cool.
it's not under pressure, right? You're not sending it back up through your return, which is under pressure, where you're pumping water uphill. This is water gravity feeding downhill, and it's just flowing.
Yeah.
You got a good point
It's not
there.
going to leak.
What was that,
And
Alex?
an inch and a half union's an expensive part. Again, cheap bastard. Sorry.
No, I'm with you on that.
Yeah, you could always press fit it in too. Yeah, I mean, if it's just a gravity feed line, you'll get salt creep. That's about the most you'll get.
Yeah, you'll definitely get salt creep.
Hmm.
You don't
All
like
right.
it, you can
I'll
put in
have
the
to
union later.
But overall, it's a good
a
idea
thought.
to have some kind of break in this pipe.
Yeah, I mean,
So you can pull it out later. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some things with plumbing that you could either choose if I got to break it later, I could deal with it then. Or if you are that concerned about it, it's easier to kind of deal with it now.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to look bad and it's going to cost more money, but it'll be less of a headache later on, I guess. Is that what we're concluding?
Yeah, I would always say accessibility. If that's the deal breaker for having to get your sump out, and like let's say there's an emergency, well, 1.5 inches, you know, I don't have a pair of cutters that'll go through 1.5 inches. I got to get my saw out.
Yeah, Sawzall.
Yeah.
That is going to cause a lot of vibration, and I've even seen it break seals on bulkheads when there's like an emergency. We got to cut it out to get something out, as opposed to just being able to remove it.
Gotcha. All right, cool. Thanks. That's all I was wondering.
I love the colors on that stump. That's really beautiful.
Well, I grew up in New York City in the 90s, so these are club colors. This is what the clubs used to look like.
Wow. We have a question from Brian Eccles. How can I lower KH? I don't know if there's a magic way to do it. You just it's time or water changes with water that has lower KH values than what you have in your tank. If you can tell us a little bit about how it got there. Did you overdose, or did you use a salt that has high parameters, like a hot salt? Because I don't know of any way except to do continuous water changes with something with a lower KH. That's diluted, I guess.
Yeah, I would agree. It's better to just dilute it out and replace the water.
I would just wait. It takes a long time though. If nothing's growing, I wouldn't even dilute it. But that's just me.
Ari said, I guess it depends how high it is too.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I had KH of 15 once in my 20-gallon nano, and that was a nightmare. Ari is saying white vinegar. I mean, maybe, but then you're carbon dosing at the same time, right? So you got to be careful with that.
Just real quick, you see this 10-gallon tank?
Mm-hmm.
this has a ton of macroalgae, no light, no nutrients. Only thing is I add this like once a week, and it grows like.
Oh, that's the Kent, what is it, Flourish? No, that's the sea chem.
Nah, it says iron and manganese.
Oh, really? Wow.
But yeah, see, I know you guys were talking about it earlier. It's not nutrients, it's not light, it's just trace elements. There's no fish in here. Every once in a while, snail dies, but just I have boatloads of Kato, Ulva, and Dragon's Breath in there.
Wow.
I gotta.
Phil is saying, Reefkeeper, if you want it to look good and save money, no union. How often are you going to move your sump? My 58 has been hard plumbed without unions for years. They are nice, though.
Yeah, and that's literally what I'm trying to decide.
Yeah. Well, speaking of someone who has taken a hacksaw to the plumbing of a running tank, a union sure would have been nice when we had to do that. And I have a video about that. It's in my 20-gallon Nano with 15-gallon sump playlist if anybody's interested in seeing that terrifying episode. So Alex,
that's a great troll question, Cindy, is what are you thinking about cutting up next? Because
yeah.
I think we all have something we want to cut up and change, right?
Yeah.
Once you've got something in place, if you're not thinking about changing anything, then is it really a hobby anymore?
Yeah. Good question.
I'm always changing something.
Yeah, I'm really averse to change. Change scares me, but I know it's necessary. And right now, for example, I have to do some fragging. And I am looking for every excuse under the sun to avoid it. But I just can't. Things are going to start becoming unhealthy if I don't start chopping things apart. So I can't put it off any longer. I have to just get off the pot and do it.
Yeah, it's hard to find time when you don't want to do something like that.
Yep. For sure.
So trimming, you're talking about trimming coral, Cindy?
Yep.
Yeah, I think that would make awesome videos because it's not something, aside from Fish of Hex, I don't see a lot of people actually show the process of how do you get your arms in there and cut stuff out, and how do people actually even glue stuff back in, right? I mean, I hate gluing coral into my tank.
Me too.
I despise that tap.
I can tell you,
I'm not good at it.
No, I know what you mean. And you always have to worry about your fish swooping in and grabbing some of the glue, and then you're doing surgery to get it out of their mouth.
Which I've never dealt with, thankfully.
Yeah.
Knock wood, right?
Well, I could recommend a channel if you want to see someone trimming their huge SPS colonies. The channel is Reefgrrl 19. And this guy has an astonishing tank. He does not make a lot of videos. I'll try and put this up on a little banner so that, let's just see here. So I have made it all one word, but it's quite possible it's 3 words with spaces between, or maybe it's Reefgrrl with a space and a 19. But if you search that channel on YouTube and take a look at some of his videos, he cuts up large colonies to create more open space for stuff to grow. His tank is just crazy. It's well worth looking at for inspiration because it's gorgeous.
Awesome. I'll definitely look that up.
I think you should do it on the live stream.
Live from the fish room. Well, I bought a tool to saw my Montipora. I have to frag plating Monties, which is going to be tricky. I'm going to have to turn off all the flow and be ready to catch the pieces when they inevitably shatter off instead of cutting nicely. And I'll have to be ready to retrieve them when they fall down because I can't stand it if a piece of coral falls down onto the sand. I have to rescue it and put it on a frag plug. I have one that's smaller, about half the size of my baby fingernail. It's a Starburst montipora. As soon as I saw it on the sand, I knew it was a chip off my main colony. So I took it out, put it on a frag plug, and now it's growing. So that part of it is kind of scaring me because my Season's Greetings Monty, the skeleton on it, the plate, is probably close to half an inch thick where it's right up against the rock. And I think they're pretty solid, but if it's brittle, it's just going to fall apart. So I think that's what's making me nervous about it. And I also have to cut up my pectinia because although it looks like one giant colony, it isn't anymore. And the pieces are starting to grow into each other and there's some damage going on. So I think I have no choice but to cut them all apart. I think there are 15 or 16 separate pieces. And I have thought about setting up a camera in front of the tank while I slice up the Monty, just to see what happens. So maybe I'll do that. Maybe that'll be a good reason to get me motivated. So Alex, I saw you previously messing around with your microscope, and I see what you're showing us. That looks kind of like a piece of chaetomorpha algae. Is that right?
Yeah, I can't. Well, I can't see it as all that much right now because my screen's not full. But yeah, there's Kato in there. Oh, I can kind of see a little better now.
Yep.
Let's see if I can find our little friend here.
Hey, WVU Reefer, thanks for coming by. You got fish fight going on there. Well, that's good to know, Ari. Ari says the glue does eventually fall out. Yep, same as Phil. Says the same thing about the glue. Well, that's kind of a relief. Another excuse off my list of why I'm avoiding it. So, Alex, the stuff that's on the Kato, is that detritus?
It's just other little bits of algae. So, hold on, let me see if I can get this to cooperate and go full screen for me.
I'm looking for pods, like, or rotifers or something really tiny.
Yeah, there's a bunch in there. Hard thing is I can't, because my camera's kind of vertical, so I can't see. Can I just, hold on. Let me see if I can fix that. There we go. That's kind of better. All right, let me see what we can find here. Well, where'd you go, buddy? Yeah, there's generally quite a bit in the way of pods. There we go.
Do you have that on a slide, Alex? So it's kind of pressed down, or is it like a droplet?
This is a stereo microscope, so it's in a little petri dish, so you can kind of see. Trying to see who I could find. Oh, there you are.
Whoa. Now, this is microscopic, right?
Actually, well, that's my fingernail. So it's not super microscopic. That's a bristle worm.
Wow.
And I could zoom in even more. Actually, on this side. There, that'll help a little bit.
There's a question here from Broke Reef Man. I have a red Monty cap that was highly stressed twice in 3 months and had major die-off. now growing back, and some polyps have changed from red to yellow. Is this common?
That's awesome. That sounds like a really cool thing.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
sometimes wonder if they lose their zooxanthellae, they can reacquire it, but do they reacquire zooxanthellae that's specific to their species, or can they take on whatever happens to be in the water? I don't know the answer to that. I'm curious. Chad, I use a bone cutter to frag my Monty, and it never ends up pretty, just slightly better than ramming it with the flipper. Okay, I'll bear that in mind. That's hilarious. But it's true, Phil says they recover pretty fast, and given the growth rate that's going on right now, I'm thinking it's not going to be too long before they smooth out again. So, Alec, you don't have dinos anywhere in your system anymore, do you?
well, I got cyano, but I don't know if I have anything. I just flat out say it's dinos. I've never actually tried to ID them under a microscope, so I don't really try to fight that kind of stuff a conventional way, though. I just try to get something that'll outcompete it.
Right.
All right, let's see. I got another slide here. Well, petri dish.
What's the magnification on your microscope there?
We are looking at 20 times right now.
Ooh, is that coralline algae?
Yep, this is a top of a chopped off frag plug.
And what's that fringy thing there?
Oh, this is a quiz now. This is a common thing. Some people like them, some people don't.
Is it an Asterina starfish?
Correct.
Oh boy.
Just a very up close and personal view of one that's like half out of water.
Wow. Hey, Bronx Reefer Brock. Thanks for coming in. Yep, Ari also said it looks like an Asterina. And thanks, Richmond Reefer. Thumbs up helps YouTube push the video out further, from what I understand.
Actually, a little piece of.
Oh, that looks like bubble algae.
Yeah, it looks like some little piece. I got some in the system.
Yep, that's how they start, those elongated cylinders.
Usually doesn't get too far in my tank. Now I'm wondering, where did the other starfish go? Because there was a second one on here. Must be on the move.
We were talking a little earlier about Aptasia, and this is when you're glad that you don't mount your new frags on the rocks immediately when they've been sitting on a frag rack for over a month and you start to see Aptasia on them. So I got my little scissors that I bought at Reefapalooza in Chicago. They're little black ones that have a nice curve on them and super sharp blades. I pulled the frag plug out of the tank, put it in some tank water, and waited for the Aptasia to open up again. And then I took these scissors and really quickly, I snapped that thing off at the base, and it came off in one piece. I put it in another little container of water, and I checked it, and it was intact. So now I'm going to try that on the other one. But talking about Aptasia, well, then I put glue over the place where it had been on the frag plug. So here's hoping. Ari's asking what microscope you're using. You mentioned it's a stereo microscope.
Yep, it's a AM scope. Let me see. Let me see if any of my other critters are out and about here. Oh, what do we got here?
Oh, going for a stroll.
Hello there. Kind of looks like an ostrich. It's hard for me to see though on my phone.
Yeah.
Tell him a second. Yep, that's an ostrich.
So is that a type of isopod?
Nope, ostracods are their own family.
Oh,
So they basically look like two little half shells. Some of them are bioluminescent, which is why I like having them in my tank.
right.
I've actually been trying to see if I can get a hold of some species I know are bioluminescent, but not the easiest thing to do.
No, it's one of those things that probably by accident. Oh, look at that starfish crawling away. Wow.
Yeah, you never think on an astrina starfish that they'd have such fine points on them.
No, all the little hairs. Yavi Gwaltney is asking if anyone has had success with pink varieties of coralline. I'm assuming that means as opposed to the burgundy or the darker, almost red types or purple types. I didn't know there were so many different varieties of coralline. I mean, I knew about the purple and the green, but I always assumed pink was just the same type, except not as saturated with color for some reason.
That's what I think. Geez, how many varieties do I got right here?
Yeah.
Like 3 different varieties, it looks like here.
Yep. I have some of the dark red and Mollywood. And I know it's coralline. It's not red slime or cyano because it's right on the rock. It can't be moved.
Let's flip over to my other side. I haven't looked to see. I think pretty much everything up here is all the purple stuff.
Tina says she has pink / purple and green.
I think it kind of depends too on the age of it and whether or not it's like new growth or old growth. So new stuff usually tends to have like a real bright appearance to it. You can see on the edge here, it's really bright, and then it kind of darkens out more into the middle.
Yeah. Reefaholic says he has seen a tank with bright blue coralline, and it was beautiful. And Mermaid's Reef said burgundy has taken over most of her tank.
I like the burgundy one. I think it looks so cool.
Yeah, it's really intense color.
I've only seen it once, but I saw someone that had a plating variety of it kind of take over their rocks, and it really looked cool.
I didn't even know there was a blue one.
No, me neither.
I've never seen that.
I thought they start, like a purple starts out as green, like a fluorescent green, then it turns to purple or pink.
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen all 3 colors in my tank at the same time in different spots. I have very little green. I have quite a lot of the purple and some spots of the dark burgundy. Yeah, Yavi said his wife wanted some of the pink type, so he got a bottle and has a little pink color on the rocks, but it never encrusted. Now Mermaid's Reef needs blue. This is it. Maybe that's what the hobby is about. The quest to find the next thing that you have never seen before.
Reefaholic, you sure about that? Are you pulling our legs or what?
Yeah. If it was April 1st, I'd probably worry about it.
Well, now I'm tempted to get my algae book out and see if it's in the algae book.
The blue, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going into the archives.
You know, sometimes those divers identification books are pretty useful for some off the wall things.
Yeah, it's probably way better than hobby grade books.
You know, the problem with those kind of books is that a lot of them are very much intended for field researchers, that all they want is something that can kind of give them an idea of what it is and where it could be located. So it's kind of a mixed bag on whether or not it's going to provide something useful.
Right. And probably they're quite regional too.
Yeah, like I got a Caribbean level or Caribbean book, and then I also have another one that's for South Pacific.
Right. Reefaholic is looking for the thread now about the blue coralline. Ari has an interesting comment. Ari, I'm assuming you mean automated testing. He's saying, excuse me, he's saying that with all the automated testing, it would be great if it contributed to everyone having a successful reef tank so the price of corals can go down. I guess so we're not so much replacing things that die.
I don't know if that's going to affect the supply and demand enough.
Yeah, I think that's going to come down to other factors.
Yeah.
Because you got to look at it too. Is as more people become successful, even though supplies might increase, how many new people are coming into the hobby as well?
I've
And
never
yeah.
seen the supply meet the demand ever.
Yeah, and they still have to go through the curve and, start with certain basics. I mean, if they do it, well, I guess, I think of how I learned, starting with the basics, but these days, I mean, everyone wants to cycle a tank in a week and then put SBS in it. And some people can do it. So, maybe that's how it'll go. So they get, the demand for some of the easier to keep corals will change and make those more rare. There's lots of life in there. Wow, lots of things moving.
Yeah, I can't see it probably as well as everyone else can. Like, do you see little tiny? Oh, hold on.
There's one.
Let's go to high power here. I can't tell as well, but you probably see, if I got it focused right, you'll see tons of tiny little dots kind of slowly moving. Let's see. A lot of times they congregate around little.
What's the depth of field that you have available to get your focus, Alex? Is it like measured in nanometers? Like, it's got to be hard.
Yeah, with anything with a stereo, like you get a really thin plane. I mean, it's not much. I mean, even when we were looking at that starfish, I mean, the thickness of that starfish was too thick to see the whole thing.
Right.
The hard part is because it's like just creepy stuff going on.
Yeah.
Oh, this is nothing. Wait, I found one ostracod, but this is like literally just a tiny little piece of algae off of the top of my refugium with all the scummy looking algae on it. Well, somebody's crawling around and they already left. Just about everything has got something crawling, and might not look like much, but I mean, it's all food for something.
Yep. I love mornings when I come out and look at my tank and the entire surface of the glass of the display is covered in white dust. And I know that it's rotifers, that there's been a hatch of some type through the night.
if you watch when the lights are going off and you see the fish start eating like crazy, you're like, whoa, something just marine snow or
Yeah.
rotivores or something.
Yep. Well, you can sure see why Cato is so prolific. It can break anywhere and start growing from those ends.
Oh, there's somebody.
Fragile Reefer, welcome. He says he or she said they found a $25 microscope at Aldi's. I want to try with my tanks. It was an extra present. We all need those extra presents.
Yeah, and I mean, you don't need to have anything like crazy expensive to do this. I mean, I got a little AM scope that, you know, it has a little LED from the top to bottom, and it's got a battery, and I bought a little phone adapter that I could clamp my phone on here, which I think works better than most of the cameras that are, you know, reasonably priced.
Yeah. Yeah, it's also a good illustration of why you should wear gloves when your hands are in your tank water if you have hangnails or any breaks to your skin, because although you might not be able to see it at this magnification, there's bacteria in there too.
Oh yeah, this thing's loaded up. Nobody wants to cooperate here. I can't probably see it as well as you can. What's it?
Well, this sure beats me on the floor in front of my sump with a magnifying glass and a light trying to look at the pods.
Yeah, because and what I find too is that it's that all the different types, they all have different little habits. So you can see there's some that they are just zipping around. You just catch a little glimpse of them here and there, and then you got others that'll just kind of sit there and be content in their little area.
Yeah. Oh, there's one up at the top coming down. There we go. Can you see him?
Yep, I got them. Not sure if I'm focusing all that great, but
It shows how translucent the Cato is for sure. Yeah, Chad Kurtz says the pods are all hiding from the light.
yeah, they don't always like that. Actually, let me. Oh, well, that is not going to help me.
I am such a geek. It's probably a good thing I don't own a microscope, because I can just imagine what kind of a time sucker it would be for me.
Oh, and I mean, I just have two little petri dishes here, and every different place you pull stuff from, you'll start seeing totally different life on it.
Wow.
Like there. There's a
Oh,
little wormy.
yeah. Huh.
Just dancing around.
I can just imagine the type of magnification you would need to actually see closely enough to identify any characteristics. I mean, now all you got is size. Oh, there's something big.
Yeah, that's a little bit bigger pod.
Yeah.
Well, you figure, I don't know where my bristle worm went in here. Probably inside my big algae mass. There it is. Hi, buddy.
Hey, Lynn Reef Nerd, I think you're really wise to be concerned about that. She says Apex wants her to download their screen sharing program to fix her issue. and their site is to download the program is not even secure.
No.
I wouldn't do it.
Totally agree.
What issue is she having?
Lynn, I don't remember what your issue is. I'll see if she puts a comment here.
That just sounds like some kind of scam.
If they're doing support, they should be secure.
Yep. Wow, that worm now looks enormous.
Yeah, and so that worm is probably about a centimeter long.
Wow.
Wow.
So this is at 40x mag. But what I find interesting is you look at all the quills on it and how they kind of like go in and out as it's moving.
Lynn says her temperature probe is not working.
That's a weird problem for them to have to dial into. They just send you a new one.
Yeah, it's kind of a, is it connected or not?
Right? Yeah, basically. That probe doesn't even get calibrated. It just plugs in.
And the thing is that for an Apex, they wouldn't need a screen share program for that. You could just grant them access to use it, and I would have a hard time believing that they don't have a backdoor into everybody.
Yeah, they can get in if they want to.
Yeah, someone here I noticed said that, oh yeah, Reef Keeper, Phil said he had to share his Apex with them, but not screen share. So
Yeah,
not the computer, just the Apex.
That sounds more appropriate.
Tyler D would like to see how big your finger is compared to the bristle worm. So he wants you to let it poke your finger.
Well, I don't know if he'll be able to. So like that is literally like, oh, hold on, it's gonna rotate a bit, but
Wow.
so yeah, that's the tip of my finger.
So you can see from that how needle sharp those bristles are, like why they can break the skin.
Yeah, I mean, it looks just like fiberglass. Oh, this is not the most horror film thing that I've found too. So, I mean, this isn't a harmful one, but I've found other worms that have some menacing looking jaws and
Yep.
you know.
Well, I found on Mollywood's glass the other day a worm that was like around a centimeter long. It was white. It had zillions of legs, and one end of it had tentacles coming out, like several tentacles. And it was kind of a round head. And as soon as I got the magnifying glass out and looked at it, I went, oh my God, it's a bobbit worm, because that's exactly what it looked like. But it was very tiny. So I got that sucker out of there and it went down the drain, because I am not taking any chances.
Now, Alex, if you found the bobbit worm, what would you do with it?
Actually, I think I have one living in my my refugium, and if I did find one, it would be getting its own little house.
I knew you'd say that.
So is it with the Kraken and Miss Stabby, the same tank?
Yeah, there was one in. I'm pretty sure it was a form of bobbit worm. I haven't seen it in a long time, and judging by the fact that there's still some snails alive in there and stuff, I don't think that it's really grown a whole lot, or the mantis or something might have tried to eat it. So, but no, if I got a hold of one, I would probably just set up an area for it, or even just do like a little 5-gallon or something and just put it on a desk.
Yep. Do you remember when Coral Lust did the video on the bobbit worm they found in their tank?
Oh yeah.
And I often wonder, because I know he was going to keep it in a tank somewhere, I often wonder whether he still has it or ended up following through with that plan. This is really funny if you read the chat. We're talking about worms, and Mrs. Insatiable 69 says, I have tried both frozen and dry with garlic. And I know they're talking about trying to feed a fish. But when you read it in the context of discussing bristleworms, it's pretty funny. Yes, Chad got a finger full of bristles the other day, digging up a colony of acans that had sand thrown all over by the clownfish.
I am going to see if I can grab another little slide real quick. Be right back.
Okie doke. So Hector Calypsos, I don't know if you're still here, but I did send you the invitation. I'm not sure if you got it, but I haven't seen you pop up yet here on my side, so not quite sure what's up with that.
Cindy, if you need space, bump me out if you want.
No, we're good. We have 2 spaces left if anyone else wants to come in. It is the witching hour. It's just after 11, but I want to see what Alex comes back with. So anyone who wants to stick around and see that will hang in.
I'm just generating background noise for you. I'm sorry.
I did put a couple of frag racks in my big tank. They're Innovative Marine, the Reef Rack 30 or 32 or something like that. And they have sections that slide in and out of a frame. And I know Cher, my female clownfish, does not like anything new in her territory. And sure enough, this morning I went in and she had already knocked out one of the sliding sections and it was on the bottom. So I think I'm going to have to find another place for that, because if I start putting frags on there, it's going to be totally a mess. All right, so what is this now?
What is that?
It kind of looks like the end of something that was attached to something.
All right. Went and grabbed a couple other critters. Anyone want to guess this one?
I don't know, some kind of a root from something?
I was going to get
Oh.
fermented.
Like a tube.
Yep, that's what Calypso's Reef is guessing.
Yeah, it sounds right.
Yep, it's a vermitid snail shell. I was wondering if I could get the little bugger in there, but I don't think I did.
That's just
I
the
was just a
shell.
random pull out of the something. Yeah. Nah, didn't get far enough on the base.
The other one looks like a flea, Tina said. Ooh. Okay, that's looks like a bristle star.
Yep.
Wow. I didn't realize they had those segments. Like that were different colors. Cool.
Yeah, you never think they're actually pretty colorful though. Okay. You want to move away from the side, buddy?
He's looking for
Yeah.
escape. So how big would that be, Alex, in real life?
I'd say full leg span. Let me zoom out a little. So I'd say leg to leg, maybe 2 to 3 centimeters.
Oh, so that's a pretty decent size.
So yeah, I'd say stretched out a lot. You know, might almost get 2.54 centimeters or 1 inch.
Yeah. That's pretty big.
Yeah, these little guys are everywhere in my system. Those guys probably like, get me away from all these lights because I am in a dark sump and you took me out of there.
I think my green wrasse eats anything like this that moves in my display because I see very, very little in the way of actual pod life or,
Well,
you know.
One thing I've learned with this stuff is, especially like these guys, like they are all over my reef tank. They don't, when they know there's predators around, they don't go hanging out. They wait till night and they're not around. And
Tina. I was capturing underwater video the other day with my cell phone and my hand brushed against my candy cane and it felt so slimy and mushy, it made me jump.
let me see if I can get a hold of a larger specimen here.
So Pete, how is your display tank doing these days? Well, I guess maybe he's not near his phone. So Awoken, if you're there, are you looking at swapping this sump in to your system in the near future then?
Yeah, it's very worrying. Yeah, it's been in the garage for like 2 weeks, so I'm still trying to piece everything together, and then hopefully I can get it done in a few hours before the fish and coral notice that the entire life support went offline and came back online.
Yeah, that would be pretty major. I mean, I flip out and get anxious at just taking my return pump out for maintenance.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't planned it all out yet, but basically I'll put any biomedia in the tank. I'll put the heaters in the tank. I'll kick up the flow on the wave makers and start doing the plumbing. Hopefully I'll finish, in less than a day, I guess 8 hours most. I'm really bad at figuring out how long it'll actually take. I'll be like, oh yeah, that'll take, a couple hours, and it's like a few weeks later, it's not done. So that's not an option here.
No, that's right. You have to clear the decks.
Double all projects.
Yeah, always double, yeah.
Realistically, double all projects. And then, yeah.
Yeah, in my case, I have to account for the little sigh of relief and sitting down in a chair for a few minutes once I'm done.
Yeah, definitely. I think I'll definitely get a big bottle of nitrifying bacteria just in case.
Yeah.
Extra plumbing parts. Like, I don't know if I should be like super confident, like, yeah, I've done this before, no problem, or if I should be like scared, because when I'm scared, then like it usually goes better because I'm like performing at a higher level.
Yeah, Calypso says it took him a full week to move. I'm assuming he means move his 214-gallon from the basement to the living room. Yeah, I can believe it. I find I have to go step by step in my mind, all the things I'm going to do, one thing after another, have all my tools ready, all the towels, all the containers, everything I could possibly need before I can even start. And by then an hour has gone by and I'm going, oh, do I have enough time now? It's endless. It's procrastination is what it is for me.
Well, yeah, I mean, you better have all the right tools for the job, otherwise
Yep.
the degree of difficulty goes up.
Just about every project I start is that go find the tools. In my case, I have a barn, and anytime I have a project at the house, the tools I need are in the barn. Every time I have a project in the barn, the tools I need are in the house. So always.
The worst is when you go out to the barn and forget what tool you need. You have to go back in to remember.
Well, there's always multiple trips back and forth. I've given up worrying about it. It's just how it is.
Yep.
Chad says
they're not close. So.
yeah, and Chad has a point. Although I'm not a beer drinker, I can relate. No one ever accounts for the time going back and forth to the fridge for beer. Yep.
Right.
So Alex, this is a pod of some type.
Yes. They don't cooperate when you try to catch them.
I'm always afraid I'll hurt them when I try to rescue them. I just feel like I'm hurting them.
Turkey baster.
Yep.
At least for some. I recently have discovered a different species of copepod in my tank that they're like little suction cups, and you got to get them off with a razor blade. But no, it's the amphipod. A decent sized one.
Yeah, I think that's the most common one that pretty much everyone's ever seen.
Oh yeah.
Those are the big guys, right?
Yep.
I just have to step away for a second, guys. Be right back.
It looks almost like a praying mantis.
Oh yeah, they all got some scary looking features when you see them up close. Oh, this little bugger just swimming all over the place. There we go. I want you in the center. The non-cooperation of copepods and amphipods. Going a mile a minute.
Yeah, I've never, as much time I spent watching, I've never looked at them in this way.
Under a microscope, and it appears to still be eating.
Eating, cleaning. Yeah, they never really stop.
Not concerned. That's pretty cool.
I mean, if you look on the backside, you could even see everything's moving on this little guy.
Okay, I'm back. That's funny, Jay Angle. I know the feeling. I keep trying to move my screen to follow the pod like I can control the microscope. Sometimes you find yourself turning your head on an angle to try and get something that's not there because it's not in the video. Hey, Paul, I don't think I said hi to you before. I just got a DIY. Nice to have you here.
Yeah, I'm sure this looks much more impressive on like a 15 or 20-inch monitor.
Oh yeah, I have an iMac 27, and it's, you know, that image is probably about 8 inches across, so it's pretty detailed.
That's why I always find it funny because every now and then someone's like, "Wow, don't you wish you could be like a fish or something, like living in a reef?" And I'm like, "No, that place is a horror show." I was like, everything's trying to kill one another or eat them.
So true.
I mean, could you imagine being like 1 inch or 2 inches tall and coming across this thing?
I'm amazed at the color too, because usually when you see them, they're kind of a whitish color, but this one actually has quite a lot
Yeah,
of different.
these guys are orange, and then they. Hang on, let me see if I can. That's a little bit. That's just under white light. So yeah, these guys develop more of an orange, and then they do have a very complex eye. But yeah, there's been a few different species. This one seems to be the one that's kind of taken over in the tank recently.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of those. I have a lot of the little isopods that are like oval shaped with a bunch of legs.
Yeah, those are the ones I had originally. I had some that were bioluminescent, and they just got out. The competition was probably just too much for them, and haven't seen them. Although I've been toying around with the idea of buying some bioluminescent bacteria strains and introducing them into my system.
So where would you go to buy bioluminescent bacteria?
There's all kinds of different scientific supply places. They sell different strains and for research, and it's like a classroom experiment type deal. You can buy a culture kit of them and petri dishes with the auger, but it's trying to find a strain that lives in tropical water.
Alex, I gotta say, man, you travel in different circles than many of us.
I know you fall down the research holes. Like I literally last night for about 2.5, 3 hours, I blacked out my entire basement as best I could and sat in a chair looking into the darkness for little tiny flashes of light. So
Yes, and after a while, you wonder if they're coming from inside your eye.
sometimes that does happen, and you have to kind of close your eyes and regain yourself, and then go, okay, no, that's. But there were some pretty bright ones I got to see last night. Not many, but most of it's very, very dim. But there is quite a bit of activity in the really dim stuff. The bright stuff's less often.
I was just thinking about how you would describe your hobby to someone sitting in a pitch black room looking for little specks of light. I wonder how many hobbies involve that.
Yeah, well, I just had a couple of actually Tim that used to come on to the Dave streams.
Right.
He lives in the area here. Him and his brother just came over today, and I know I didn't hear if they didn't really say anything. They know I watch bioluminescent stuff, but I have electrical tape over all of my equipment on all the little screens and indicator lights, and I was like, sorry about all the electrical tape. It's just I was doing viewing last night, and those little light sources are like floodlights when your eyes adjust to the darkness.
Yeah. 420 Reefer is asking if you have a UV flashlight. He loves his and sees neon colors at night. Yeah, I agree. I have a small one, and it's pretty amazing what you see.
I've never tried the neon flashlight to see what fluoresces.
It's pretty amazing. That's what I was using on the boiling coral disaster corals to determine whether there's still any life. And I'll tell you, there's faint green fluorescence. So there's got to be some live tissue there, because algae turns bright red or brown. Coralline algae glows pink. But coral tissue is generally fluorescent green, very, very pale.
I never thought of that. That's a really good use for that. So you're saying you had a skeleton and you put the flashlight on and you could see some tissue left?
Yep, it was, the main one is the Cyphastria, and it's a little mound, and you know what they're like with the round corallites, and then there's tissue between them. And the areas between the corallites are very, very faint fluorescent green, and the corallites themselves are bright white. So if it was dead, you would think at this point, having been in this condition for over 2 months, they would be completely engulfed with algae, but they're not. So there is something going on, and I'm not giving up on them. Who knows? They may just turn into black sticks and never grow, but anytime I can see color, I think there's indication of live tissue.
That's cool. Yeah, definitely. It can overtake algae if it starts coming back.
Yep. Yep. Well, it can inhibit algae being able to take hold if it's healthy. So we'll see, I guess. Well, that was pretty cool, I have to say. And I guess it's probably time. It's 20 after 11. So we've had super interesting extra time tonight. Oh, now what are we looking at? Sand.
Random scoop of sand.
See if anything alive in there.
Something was moving.
Yeah, the way this usually works is you find a little tiny stones moving, and you're like, "What the heck is doing that?"
I've noticed on a couple of the rocks in Mollywood underneath Recordia, excuse me, I have what look like little tiny barrel sponges growing, but they're not white. They're pinkish red, and they have an opening in the top. They resemble tunicates, but I don't see any sign of tentacles or respiration or anything like that. They just look like little sponges with holes in the top. And there's a lot of them. So I was tempted to put one of those rocks in the big tank to see whether my angelfish went after the sponges, to see if that's what it actually is.
Yeah, I've seen those, but I never figured out what they are.
Tina says, thanks for the extra long stream. I love when Alex gets out the microscope.
Yeah, I think next time I do this, I'm gonna like park a laptop next to me so I can see what I'm actually seeing.
Yeah.
It's
You'll have-
so tiny on the phone.
You'll have to watch the replay, Alex.
Oh, I'm gonna put the eyepieces back on. Probably just start looking through stuff. It can be rather addictive, and
Yeah.
I don't even know what that is. I can't tell if it's a stone or something with little tentacles. Yeah, random scoops can sometimes have some weird stuff in them.
when I'm looking for pests, I have 2 times magnification reading glasses. I put those on, and then I use my 10 times handheld magnifying glass to look for stuff, and it's really amazing how much that helps. But the only problem is, because I'm not an octopus, I have to put the magnifying glass down to go after whatever I'm going to go after, and I can't see it.
Yep. That's why I got the glasses.
Yeah, I've put coral frags under this before to check them. It is a nice little tool to have. I really want to get like a standard microscope so I could look at real small stuff, but that's a something I'll do eventually. Boy, this sand is like really kind of weak. I expected more here, or I just can't see it.
It's very clean.
I can't tell if those little dots inside that shell are moving or not. Oh well, yeah.
One just appeared.
Somebody move some. There's
Oh yeah, there's a pod.
ready to go.
He's curled around the bottom of that rock with the little point on it. There's like the triangular rock in the open space. He's on the left of that. Yeah. He's still right now.
Right in the center?
Yeah, he's going to make a run for it. Oh, we lost Pete. Pete probably had to do something in his fish room. A420 Reefer, same to you. WVU Reefer, peace back at ya. Jonas down Oravicious, amazing, Alex.
Oh, I found something on my other slide, just looking.
Oh. Oh.
Different kind of brittle.
Yeah. He's like a gecko on a hotel room wall, staying really still, hoping you won't notice.
That or he's sleeping.
Oh, there's a worm on the left. Or a tentacle of some sort there.
I know what I need to do here. Yeah, this is like a tablespoon of sand.
Wow.
Which it's very deceptive how that little amount of sand could have so much stuff sometimes, but Not a lot of stuff is home tonight, or I just picked a bad place to sample.
Have to dig down deep, I guess.
You know, sometimes it's, you know, like I kind of took this one, I should have gone a little closer, right next to rocks and
Right. Yeah. Nice.
you know, to see also get some prepared ones for another live stream.
Yeah, that'd be really great. Do you remember Brian, whose YouTube channel is The Business, and the videos he did with his microscope, all the little different critters?
Yeah, I think I've seen some of those.
That was great. Hey, Yavi, thanks so much for coming in. Good night to you, too. Oh, Nick Harris just came in and said, what are we looking at? We are looking at some sand from Alex's, one of his tanks under a stereo microscope. And what is this, Alex? 20 to 40 times magnification, you said?
Yep.
Looking for live critters, but there's not much in there tonight.
Yeah, I think the the starfish is having more fun.
Yeah. And the bristleworm.
Yeah, the colors on these guys are always so nice. The iridescent look they have.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure which end is which right now.
Hmm. He's probably trying to get it somewhere dark. Hmm.
Yeah, sometimes I'll kick up a bunch of detritus or kind of wring out some algae and usually get a lot of stuff. I could zoom 20 to 40 on the sand, and if I have other eyepieces I can go to that'll give me even more, but they're very it's a very shallow depth of field.
Yeah, getting that focus is really hard.
All right, let's try a little different tactic on the sand. Almost looks like an ostracod shed. Yep, that's what that is. Looks of it.
Oh, look on the left there. Something long and skinny. That's moving fast. Oh my goodness. It's kind of like when the spider disappears. You don't know where it is. And it was on the ceiling.
What do you think that was?
Some kind of worm. That's the thing is like, unless you're really well versed. I mean, I could look at a few of these things and find out what they are, and have like I could say like something's an ostracod or a copepod, but what exact species like that could be a difficult thing to try and answer.
I think a lot of that stuff now is being done via DNA. And when I was looking into the spaghetti worms that I had in Mollywood, what I learned from that is that taxonomically, they're really not well described because of the scale of the things. There's so many of them. They have to decide whether they're distinct species or just regional morphs of the same species. And so they're starting to get into the DNA. And so then you start to get into where does the money come from to do this kind of research?
Yeah.
You know, it just, and there's so many tens of thousands of species to look at. It gets crazy.
Yeah, that's and that's the thing is that who's studying it? Oh, there's somebody.
Oh, I wonder if that was the other thing. Has a similar shape.
I see a couple of worms here. So here, this is where Mr. Pokey Stick comes in.
Hiding under the grain of sand. Oh, there he comes out. Diacanthus has a question about capturing bioluminescence, asking about the camera settings, ISO, aperture, exposure, duration.
So, with my camera, I got a Canon T5i, and I went and got an F. It's a 1.2 or 1.4, and I'll put it wide open at that, and I'll try to focus in on a little piece of the tank, which unfortunately you just don't get a lot of depth of field. So you're going to get some blurry stuff. And then I'll shoot. I'd like to be able to shoot at ISO of 3200, but 6400 is the max my camera does before it's just a garbage image. And I find that exposure time of 15 to 30 seconds gives you the most amount of, well, the best chance to capture a lot on a single frame. Because even the bioluminescence, for the most part, only lasts, a piece of a second. But some organisms that get disturbed might flash multiple times. I'd really like to go to video and shoot with video, and I've experimented using low frame rates on the camera for a second or two, and I've been able to shoot with some red light in the background and be able to see, but I've never caught bioluminescence that method. unfortunately, the cameras that could probably really do it are quite expensive. And I don't have the budget for that.
Yeah. You have to wait for a university to go to business.
No, there's how I don't even there's some there's some just consumer grade stuff out there. The handful of ones I know that like they've used for BBC and things like that, like they're like $40,000-$50,000 cameras, and there's actually a company that rents it, and I would not even want to ask when I see you can request a quote. So but yeah,
Robber on
generally
foot. Sorry.
I was just gonna say though, generally long exposures, I have just a tiny bit of ambient light in the tank from the radions, just indicator lights, which is enough to allow you to kind of see the tank with the long exposure. And I basically, when I start doing that, I have a intervalometer software on my camera, and I turn that on and I tell it to take pictures until I shut it off or the batteries die.
Right. And so when you do this, what do you use to store the data that you get, like those images? I can imagine how big those files are.
I only I just shoot in JPEGs now, so they might be a few meg a piece.
Okay.
And then over a night, I mean, it'll still be a few gig of files, but I found that there's no point in shooting like raw images because there's so much noise.
Yeah.
There's not really a lot you could do with it. But what really works well to kind of review those images is I'll pull them all into Power Director, and I'll just change the contrast on them to kind of eliminate a little noise and bring out any bioluminescence. And then I stitch them together as a movie, so every image will show for like a second or a quarter second or something.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like a time-lapse movie, and you could kind of see the flashing happening that way.
Hmm.
And there's always manually scrolling through, which, you know, not the funnest thing in the world, but unfortunately, when you do long exposure, though, you just don't get detail.
Yeah.
And that's probably the most challenging thing is like a lot of the organisms I see, and the researchers struggle with the same thing, is that, so I see a flash of light. Let's say I pulled out a little tray of sand like this, and I poke it with a stick, and I get something to flash. So then I'm going to try and isolate that little thing and put it into its own separate dish and see what it is. And then I'm going to try and like disturb it to get it to flash again. Well, every time you disturb it and it flashes, it exhausts more of the chemicals that it uses to do that. Eventually it'll run out.
Right.
And it'll have to recharge. So it's kind of, I mean, I put Petri dishes in the tank and left them there and hoped that something would get on them. And to date, I've only seen 2 spaghetti worms that I've gotten to actually flash in front of me where I could say that I'm 100% sure that's what it is.
Okay. Is that worm eating? Is that food we see inside the worm, or is it going along the outside of the body?
I don't know. I think that might just be stuff inside it.
Wow.
I can't really see all that.
Oh, you'll have to look at it later.
Like this is like the size of, it's probably a little bit bigger than a loony.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Thanks, Tina. Really nice to see you. And AL is here. Hey, AL. He's asking if we've looked at skimmate yet. Maybe that's what
No,
we'll
no.
look at next time.
Haven't pulled skimmate out yet. Okay, hold on. So we got a worm tentacle here. We got a worm tentacle here. There's something under this rock? Where are you? Little tiny stone. Okay. Or are you just one big giant worm thing? Well, I think that's the head. Maybe.
Oh. Diacanthus says thank you. It gives him some ideas to play around with. And thanks for coming by, Diacanthus.
Yeah, the biggest thing I would say if you're gonna set it up to shoot, if you just sit down there and get adjusted to it, electrical tape's your friend to try and eliminate most of your ambient lighting.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Whoa. Time flies when you're having fun, Alex. I just noticed it's almost midnight.
Jeez.
Wow.
Yeah, my battery is sitting at 18%. So.
Oh. Well, we should probably cut it off there. As fascinating as, I mean, it's one of those things where you go, if I stop looking now, I'm going to miss something really cool.
Yeah, this is. Oh, there's it. There goes something swimming around. Some pod. But now I'll have to see. I'll have to try and put together something with some specific slides here. I'll pull some critters.
Yeah, it would be very cool, especially if we know what they are. Jonas says he's not sure how he feels about lying on the beach anymore.
Yeah, just depends on where you're at in the beach. Yeah, that would probably be a rough thing for me. Is I could just see myself going on vacation and bringing this microscope with me, and my wife is going to go, "What are you doing?" I'm looking at sand samples from the beach.
Well, you could just secretly get baggies of sand and take it home and do it there.
Oh, I mean, I have considered, depending on how some of my bioluminescence stuff go, I might eventually try to apply for some research permits to be able to do that. We'll see, though. It was fun being on the stream, though. As always.
Yeah, and I really appreciate everything you have to show us, because it's certainly unique and different, and you've got the tools to bring it to the screen. So it's awesome. So thank you.
Well,
And thanks
you're welcome.
thanks to everyone else who came into the studio tonight and in the chat. We still have 20 people watching at this late hour, and I think we were at a high of around 49 at one point, and that's really great. So thanks for spending your Saturday night with me. I really appreciate it, and I think we will look forward to next week.
Yeah, I know I won't be able to make next week, but the week after that, I should be back.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Well, now, thanks so much to everyone who came along tonight, in the studio, in the chat, and watching. And to those of you who are watching the replay, Thank you too for sticking around to the end. I hope to see you again next Saturday night, January 11th, 2020 at 9 p.m. Eastern. Have a great week.